Hi, Father James here, and thank you for watching. This is our second Cooks with Collars video presented here from Most Blessed Sacrament Church in Bali. Today I'm going to make a beautiful Sicilian dish called pasta alla norma. Most Blessed Sacrament Church in Bali was founded in 1741. The original chapel, built in 1743, forms the rear of the sanctuary of the current present-day church, which has undergone several expansions over the centuries. We hope to have you visit sometime to pray with us at Holy Mass and to be able to learn more about the history of Catholicism in our country. Pasta alla norma is an eggplant pasta dish, and it has some very simple ingredients. The star of the show, of course, is the eggplant itself. We also need some garlic, some fresh basil, and of course San Marzano tomatoes that we'll crush by hand before we make the sauce. And then to go on top of it and bring it together, ricotta salata. This is a type of ricotta cheese that's dried and heavily salted until it gets really firm. You of course could prepare these in a different way, that's your favorite, but I prefer to leave the skins on. This is about the size that I'm looking for. And be mindful that they will shrink considerably by the time they're cooked. Now this step could be optional, but if you skip it, I would suggest that you make them into far smaller pieces so that they cook at a more reasonable pace. But what I like to do with the eggplant is to add some salt to them and let them sit so that they give up some of the liquid and the bitterness that accumulates in the eggplant itself. Put some salt here. I'm just going to mix it up so that the salt touches all the cubes. Now, as you can see, I've taken the cut eggplant and salted it, and I put them in a baking sheet here. And this is because as the water comes out of the eggplant, you don't want it going all over the place. So you won't get any more that would fill this ever. So it's a safe container. And then just to get things moving a little bit, I have this pot filled with water that I'm going to put on the top of this to weight it down a bit. And that'll help speed up this process. While our eggplant is doing its thing, I thought I'd talk a little bit about this dish and where I encountered it, and a little bit about its history, and one special surprise yet to come as well. First off, I learned about this dish that I had never heard of here in the United States when I had the honor of living and studying in Rome, and I lived in Italy for those 2 years. And before I began the studies in Rome for theology, I had to learn Italian. And my Italian teachers were very good, and they knew the very best way to hold my attention was to talk about food. And one of my teachers, her name was Francesca, described to me what her favorite food was. And it was a Sicilian dish, even though at that time I was living way at the very north part of Italy. And she described it as simple eggplant and the basil, tomato, just as I showed you. But then one day, for our whole class, she made it, and wow, was it ever good. It was also on my birthday, so I have another reason to remember it forever. And so I'm happy to recreate that. Its peculiar name comes from an opera by Bellini, who was also from Sicily. Its name was Norma. It was a very popular opera at his time, and it became associated with anything that was really well done. Now, pasta alla norma has different types of pastas that you can use, really any kind that you want. There's different sorts of macaroni and something called casarecce that's quite popular and easy to find here in the United States. But for the cooks with collars, I thought of what's a really special and appropriate type of pasta to use. And so, if you've never seen it before, allow me to introduce you to strozza preti. Not only are strozza preti a great pasta shape, but it literally means priest stranglers. Of course, there's some lore about these supposed priest stranglers, and one of the stories that I heard of where the name came from is that once upon a time, at least in the region where these became popular, that there was a custom that any priest would be able to go into a restaurant or even any home and expect that the head of the household or somebody would cook for them. So getting sick of the large priests coming to eat all the time, they gave them something that was a little bit longer than usual, a little bit floppier and harder to eat in hopes that it would be their last visit. Okay, well, as you can see, the eggplant has given up a lot of liquid and have shrunk down considerably. As I said, if you do skip this step, make sure that you cut them down to a size that is edible, because when you fry them, they won't shrink too much. Now what we have to do is take this, remove it from the water, and then rinse off all that salt and any of the extra seeds that have fallen off. Take a different pan or somewhere where you can keep them together, and then lay them out on a towel so that they can dry. You want to make sure that they're reasonably dry before you throw them into the fryer. Okay, while our eggplant is drying off, we're going to get the sauce ready. So I've already cut up some garlic, so I'm going to just show you what I like to do with it and what size. You could put it through a garlic press, you could mince it fine. I don't mind having a few little chunks of garlic because I like it so much. So I'm going to cut it into smallish pieces that when you saute it, it won't burn. Because now is the fun part. We get to break up some of these beautiful tomatoes. These are the San Marzano tomatoes, and the best tools for this are your hands. Okay, well, we're back now with our eggplant has dried a little bit more, just so there's no obvious moisture or anything dripping off of them. That will be fine. And you could go and press them with the towel to get anything that had been left over. So now it's time to fry them. And we're going to put them, you can use olive oil, you can use vegetable oil, whatever kind of oil you want, that you can bring up to a temperature to fry this. So there's a good little test if you want to know if your oil is hot enough, and I'll show you if you don't have a thermometer. Get your oil in the pan, warm it up, and if like this, you can put in a toothpick and you see it start to bubble, you know that you're hot enough to start cooking. So now carefully, because there's some liquid involved here and very hot oil, start to put your eggplant into the hot oil. I'm going to do this in 2 batches because I don't want to overcrowd the pan. We're going to let these cook be about 4 or 5 minutes, or until they're brown enough and crunchy on the outside a little bit, and then nice and soft and cooked through on the inside. Alright, you see these beautiful fried eggplants. This is done as I like them. I like them a little crispy on the outside, nice and brown. So make sure you have a slotted spoon so you can let the oil drain off of them, and put them onto a plate with some paper towels to help them dry. Well, we're back with our second batch of the eggplant. While that's frying, we can start working on the sauce. So I have a little bit of olive oil here in the pan, and it's set on a fairly low heat. And now I'm going to add in the garlic. I'm going to make an entire pound of pasta, so I do have a good amount of garlic here. Just let that go nice, slowly and carefully before you add your tomatoes to it. And while that's coming up to a temperature, I'm going to also salt the pasta water a bit. Okay, our garlic has been really lightly simmering here. You can see nice and slow. You don't want it to burn or get any sort of bad taste in it. And now that that is cooked, you'll be able to tell by the beautiful smell in your kitchen at that point. And it's ready to receive the tomatoes that we broke up earlier. And you're going to keep this on a low heat. You want the sweetness of those tomatoes, the freshness that they were canned with, to just stay with the sauce the whole time. I'm going to stir this around a little bit. And then you're going to let some of the liquid, the extra liquid that was in those tomatoes, cook down as well. Finally, we can put in at this moment some of our basil. I'm going to save some for a little fresh garnish at the end. Because I just rolled a bunch of basil leaves together, and now I just twist and break them apart and get them into the tomato sauce. Okay, well now our sauce has reduced nicely, and you can take that eggplant that you let cool off and drain and put it right into that sauce. I would recommend saving some of this eggplant. I've reserved a few pieces just because it's nice to have a few crunchy garnishes on top of the pasta when you're done with it. The rest of it can get mixed right in with the sauce. And while that's going, we'll put in our Sacrament. And they're going to cook for about 11 minutes according to the package. Okay, our pasta is all finished cooking, so before we drain it, very important, make sure you grab a cup of this pasta water. We're going to use that water to reconstitute our sauce that is reduced so much, and that starch is going to help pull it all together. So now we're just going to drain it. All right, so we're going to take our pasta and we're going to put, I think, most of it, if not all of it, directly into the sauce. Let it finish there. Just going to hold this back. Put on a heat again. Now we got the pasta in there. We're starting to mix it together again. We're going to put the heat on and use some of that pasta water to really bind that sauce together. And you're going to let that cook for just a little bit. And now that we have our pasta water in, we're going to put a little bit of the cheese, the ricotta salata. We just grated it finely so it melts nice, just a little bit. And that'll bind with that starchy water and the tomato and make this a great sauce. Oh, beautiful doorbell. Who could be? Oh, perfect. It's Father Giuseppe.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How many of these videos have you been in now?
You'll have to watch to find out.
Okay. Well, well, I have a beautiful pasta dish on the stove. We just finished. What do you think?
Wow, that looks beautiful. Wow. So what's in this pasta?
Well, there's a few things. So you're Padre Giuseppe Esposito.
I am.
Father is the chaplain at Allentown Central Catholic High School and a good friend that I'd be happy to serve this wonderful dish to today.
I can't wait.
So, I want to see, well, since you're so Italian, you have a wonderful name, we could go through some of the ingredients here.
Okay.
And you could translate for them, okay?
All right, let's try it out.
Okay.
All right.
All right, how about melanzane?
Melanzane, of course, is watermelon.
Mm.
No.
No.
It's red.
Let's
It's
see.
red.
Okay, we're going to go on to the next one. But melanzane is the eggplant.
Oh.
Okay, now what you said there's something red in there. Pomodori.
Pomodori, that of course is, well, that's a good one. I think it's peppermint, I believe, right?
Oh, my ears, my ears. No.
Pomodori.
That would be the tomatoes. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Well, maybe we move on to the final big ingredient.
I'm learning a lot.
So, you know what pasta is.
Pasta is noodles.
Yes,
Yeah, of
there
course.
you go.
Yeah, spaghetti.
That's the same in both languages, basically. So good, we're all right with that.
Yeah.
This type of pasta, this is the strozza preti.
What's Sodza pretzels?
I'll show you what it is. Okay, well, we've all recovered from our episode here, and nobody was hurt in the filming of this little video. But now we're going to show you this. What you can do is dress it up a little bit. It's got nice and combined and all the ingredients incorporated so nicely. This will be Father Giuseppe's, and I'll just eat it out of the pan, I guess. We'll dress his up a little bit so we can get a little basil, show just how nice and fresh it is. Get a couple of these fried eggplants on top. And of course, the final star of the show, the ricotta salata added on top of there is grated beautifully, nice and salty and creamy. And there you have the pasta alla norma. If you enjoyed the video, please vote for us. We're much appreciated. Come and visit this beautiful parish that I'm so honored to be the pastor of, and have a beautiful day.